Now let's talk about Wagner boss. And Yevgeny Prigozhin has been reported dead after boarding a jet which crashed and killed all passengers. This has caused mixed reactions to that detail of what happened and what next. We have details in this report.
Earlier, Wagner-linked Telegram channel Grey Zone reported that the private plane which belonged to Prigozhin was shot down by air defenses. The jet was flying from Moscow to St. Petersburg with 7 passengers and 3 crew members. Prigozhin led a failed mutiny against the Russian armed forces in June, and the crash comes on the same day that senior Russian General Sergei Surovikin was sacked as Air Force Chief. The aircraft is said to have come down near the village of Kuzhenkino in the Tver region, about halfway between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Grey Zone said local residents heard 2 bangs before the crash and saw 2 vapor trails. TASS news agency said the plane, an Embraer Legacy belonging to Prigozhin, caught fire on hitting the ground. The aircraft had been in the air for less than half an hour, it added. An investigation has been launched into the crash, and emergency services are searching the scene. Another news agency, RIA, said 8 bodies had been recovered. The Wagner Group had been linked to the junta government in Niger Republic.
All right. Now, this is coming 2 months after the failed mutiny against the Russia's military leadership led by Prigozhin himself. And we also saw the support he has been giving the coupists in Niger. In fact, some days ago, it was reported that the Wagner group sending their mercenaries to Niger as a sign of support for them, saying that there has been engagement between ECOWAS and Niger on ensuring a restoration of constitutional order. And when that conversation came, when the diplomatic envoy from ECOWAS went, and they were saying it would take them 3 years to return to constitutional order, ECOWAS saying no, and ECOWAS also telling the standby force to start getting ready as things were. We now saw the Wagner mercenaries, coming into Niger. Now, the matter is, what next for the coupists? What twist is this bringing to the whole situation in Niger?
Yeah.
And then there's also the conversation as to the Kremlin have not spoken yet with regards to what happened. And there are those who are pointing accusing fingers at the president, Russia's president, saying that he does not forgive. That is what it is. In fact, someone went ahead to say that the person, a Ukrainian presidential advisor, said that actually Prigozhin signed a death warrant for himself when he signed a deal with the Lukashenko president, Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus. After the failed, mutiny, they went there, to find cover, so to speak. And now that this has happened, we don't understand how things will be right now, but accusing fingers, even U.S. President Joe Biden was saying that he is suspecting the Russian president for this as well.
Yeah, there is, to start with, from where you stopped, the U.S. President Joe Biden said there is hardly anything happens in Russia that Putin doesn't have his own hand in it. So Yevgeny Prigozhin, was Putin creation. This is someone that Putin used, for his wars and all of that. Whatever it is that he wanted to do, you'll find Prigozhin doing what Putin asked him to do. So he was a chef, selling hot dogs before he now had a very big food company where they also refer to him as Putin's chef, So, a kind of mercenary that he does. He has a lot of people who work with him, but he made a lot of enemies for himself, even before his death, because Assad used him in Syria, in Libya. Khalifa Haftar also used him. Burkina Faso, he has a hand. Mali, Sudan war, and Afghanistan. So
and now Niger.
And now Niger. But it was also reported that Yevgeny Prigozhin had a hand in the Niger coup. That's why it's very easy for them to say, okay, whatever it is ECOWAS wants to do, we are ready. Any foreign intervention, because when he also appeared on the video that was made on African soil, but although the location was not the location was not stated, but it was in Africa, where he said that the foreign intervention, he said Africa should be free. And this is to tell you that Russia also has its own interest in Africa. You know,
Absolutely.
the scramble for Africa of a thing. Yeah. So Russia used him against NATO, all looking for ways to get into Africa. So it is now left for the Nigerian, the coupist in Niger, what exactly is going to happen. But then we can't wish it away, because Wagner is it's not just, we should not personalize it around Yevgeny Prigozhin, because it's an organized mercenary group. It's organized. So it's very easy for them to have the next person who will be the boss.
Take over. Of
just
course,
like we have in ISWAP, we have in the ICs, we have the Boko Haram. So it's easy for them to have the next.
They would have groomed
leader,
the next in line, because they know that anything can happen at any point. These groups understand that, and so they groom a next in line in case situations like this happen. In fact, there is a conversation around the fact that now that this has happened, Russia may take over the Wagner group.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when we say that Prigozhin is a creation of Russia itself, let's say Putin, but what they have been doing is unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
Because Russia has its own military, is only working, side by side with the military. But when the mutiny, the Mutinous Act of Prigozhin happened, that was even the time where the BRICS summit was going on, where Putin was also making his presence in Africa. And that was the time he was also doing his own. So it was like an affront on the person of Putin. And he was very angry at it. So it's, as at that time, just like you said, it looks like he had signed his death warrant at that time. So if we don't have Wagner again, it's not so sure exactly what's going to happen. But then it's something that we can't wish away, because it's really going to be a very tough one for the coupists. Maybe not. But ECOWAS's saber rattling should not be like, okay, now it's time for us to have a military intervention in Niger, because the supporter is
absolutely not. Recall that the representative of the diplomatic envoy just met with the chair of ECOWAS. He met with him, I think, 2 days ago to give him the report.
Head of state.
Yes, retired. Yeah. So he gave him the report of the conversation they had with the coupists and what the coupists put forward, talking about the 3 years they are requesting. And there is also the conversation around, there is the possibility of sending another envoy there to have a conversation, a diplomatic approach, having this conversation with the coupists to perhaps negotiate the timing for maybe looking at having a year transition government and all of that before a return to constitutional order. So yes, they're talking about 3 years, but we do not know what ECOWAS will say to them. I am just assuming maybe they'll put forward telling them that, okay, let's look at a year, for instance, because ECOWAS has said that they are not, this matter of sending in the forces, the standby force, is a last resort.
Absolutely.
And so the conversation, I believe they want to sustain the conversation to achieving something. Because we have seen, or we have talked about the attendant impact. If there is a forceful entry into Niger to restore constitutional order as it is, we have looked at the implication economically. We have looked at the situation it will breed when we are talking about humanitarian situation as well. And we have seen the impact of even the sanctions economically across states close to Niger, especially within Nigeria. So we have seen the attendant impact. So I believe that ECOWAS might see this as a window for them to negotiate a timing with the coupists. Yes, they are trying to enforce their authority, assert themselves as it is. And don't forget also that AU has also sanctioned Niger as it is. Yeah. So, and they have also spoken to their member states to say that you must also enforce these sanctions. Now, how ECOWAS will move with this now that has happened will also determine if they can wield their influence to get something out of the coupists.
It remains to be seen, what exactly is going to happen at the end of the day, because we're monitoring the situation.
Absolutely.
So if Niger is willing to relinquish power at the end of the day, that will be a very good thing. But you know that this thing is already having foreign interference. Russia is very much interested in Niger, as well as the Western countries are also interested. For instance, France said that Algeria should allow them, airspace in order to conduct military operation in Niger. But Algeria refused France to do that, even though France has 1,500 troops on the ground. Russia has its own interest. Putin has his own interest.
Absolutely.
ECOWAS, of course, so it's a matter of what exactly the superpowers, their interest on the African soil. So that will go a long way in determining the outcome of the entire conversation or dialogue they'll be having with ECOWAS. Because ECOWAS's saber rattling is something that we should not also wish away, because they are also looking to protect their own region. So if this is not really managed, it can lead to the Sahelian, spring, which we don't want to see, just like the Arab Spring, where the people are already saying, no, we don't want colonialists, we don't want foreign intervention, we want to develop by our own self. But if war happens, it's still going to affect, especially the ECOWAS region, Sokoto,
the northeastern states.
Yeah, exactly. So those states that border Niger. So it will still affect the common man on the street. So we believe that having strategic diplomatic relations, conversation is what
comes to mind is African leaders should begin to look at themselves and say, why are Western countries interested in us? Let's begin to protect our interests. Let's see ourselves as brothers and ensure.
You're asking why. We've got resources, we've got...
No, I'm saying they should begin to sit back and say that we should protect our interests. We are brothers. Right now, let's speak with one voice. Now that we are seeing so much interest, it's no longer hidden. Right? Yeah. It's not about, oh, we are just coming here to help you and all of it. Yes, they know now, rather that it is much more than that. So they should begin to have conversations around how do we protect our interests, protect our resources, make the best use of it, because we know these people come take our resources and then do whatever it is they want with it. Then we now import or buy from them again. Meanwhile, we should have been benefiting from it. So what are we not doing correctly? What do we need to develop? What do you have that could benefit me? And so we look at all of those conversations we should begin to have. We have all these African Union, ECOWAS. Let's begin to have such conversations so as to move the continent forward.